Violence flares. Signal Corps driver attacked. A Negro civilian driver of a U.S. Signal Corps truck was dragged from the vehicle and beaten by 3 young men as he stopped for a red light at Broad Street and Olney Avenue about 8 o'clock this morning. The driver, accompanied by an armed white man who was acting as guard, was on his way to pick up Signal Corps employees at the intersection when a coupe containing 3 young men and 4 women drew up alongside. The young men jumped from the coupe and were pummeling the driver when police arrived. All were taken to a nearby police station and given a lecture, then discharged. The Negro suffered injuries to his eye.
This was in the early 40s, and things in the city were becoming critical, and there was pressure to integrate the public transportation system. The drivers who had been all white were wanting to strike, and the black people who were wanting the jobs and who had qualified for the jobs were put on the various vehicles. And the XH bus that runs up and down Washington Lane, and I can remember in bad weather riding the bus, and there were state guard stationed on each bus with his bayonet on the end of the gun, the naked bayonet. And I can remember thinking, my God, does the color of our skin require guns with bayonets on them so that black men can have a job?
Strike came about because it was PTC at that time. Exactly, it was called PTC. They decided to hire for the first time African-American motormen, and the white workers there resented it, so that they decided to go on strike.
10,000 GIs were sent to Philadelphia to allow the buses and trolleys
Really?
to run.
10,000.
Yeah.
Must have filled up Fairmount Park.
August 1944, men trained to fight the Japanese and the Germans had to come to Philly so the buses would run.
Philadelphia was a really important producer of war material. Mm-hmm. So the president just said we can't have the war industry handicapped by a public transit strike. But for other passengers to know that you had to have a military person just in order that a black man
could drive.
They set up their tents in their little community in Fairmount Park. My uncle rode the PTC Broad Street bus from one end to the other every day, carrying a rifle to permit the black drivers to drive the PTC buses.
I remember getting on the bus there at 30th Street Station. I was newly married and living in Lansdowne, and I would come in on my way to the University of Pennsylvania and get on the bus there at 30th Street Station, and it was the most humiliating thing to see a man in uniform with a rifle behind the driver.
Yeah, Marines. They had the
Yes.
Marines. Yeah.
And it seems to me that they even had bayonets on those darn things.
And it was a pretty vicious situation, which is why, and it was also wartime, and that is why the National Guard was brought in to make sure that the transportation kept running.
What war was going on?
That was the tail end of the Second World War.
You especially remember the day that we knew that we were at war? I have a special memory of it because
Pearl Harbor Day, you mean?
My father was a news buff. He would go to that radio. Mm-hmm. He knew everything that was going on all the time because he kept that KYW on all day. And I had come from church. It was that Sunday. I had come from church. I went upstairs and took a nap. He came to the foot of the steps and howled up to me. "You're up there sleeping your life away, and we're at war." That's what he said to me.
Oh my!
You know? And that's the way I heard the news about Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
You know, and I just can't forget it because it was scary. It was really scary.
Terrifying.